Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I brought to you something interesting. If you're a fan of high-stakes thrillers, you know the brilliance of Amazon's The Family Man. The trailer is a masterclass in tension building, with those quick cuts, fast transitions, and those intense data reveals. I am back here with a fresh new tutorial where we will recreate this trailer. First, I have split the intro into separate shots, and we will create it shot-wise. So, if you see there are 4 shots, let's take first shot and understand its composition. So, this shot has a saturated aerial shot. On top of it, there is a ink splatter effect of the same shot. Then, there is a color gradient on 2 diagonally opposite corners. A moving map footage in the background. The overall feel of the trailer is grungy, and wiggled effect is applied throughout the trailer. So, let's start creating our first shot. First, we will create a base composition for our first shot. So I am going to create a new composition of 1080 resolution. I am keeping short length as 6 seconds only. Then, I am going to drag the footage of the aerial shot. The shot I used is from 6th episode, I guess. Now, we're going to scale it up, then we are going to desaturate this footage. And then we will increase the contrast to match it up with the actual intro. So, first we will duplicate the layer and draw a rectangular mask over this new layer. Then we will select the bottom layer and apply a Gaussian blur to this. Let's go to the layer with the mask and adjust its size by scaling it up. This is just to create a separation and lifted effect from the base layer. Now, let's create a new layer to add the gradient on this composition. So, I am going to create a new layer. Now, I am adding a mask on the top right corner, where I want to put my gradient. Let's add a gradient layer style to it. Let's give it a orangish and yellowing circular gradient, and then later we can adjust its color to match it with the original trailer. Now let's change the blending style to overlay. And now we can adjust the shape of the mask. Now we will duplicate this layer and we'll drag it to the left bottom and we'll adjust its shape. Let's adjust the colors now. So finally, we have our base composition ready. Now, I am going to create a new composition which will be our main composition, and we'll add this base composition to it. Now let's add a solid black layer to on top of our base composition to give a vignette effect. And mask off the center part, keeping the blackness around the corner. Now change the blending mode to multiply. Here we are done with our background. It is time to add the ink splatter effect on the road. So we will create a separate composition for it and name it as ink splatter. Since the ink splatter is just a mask of the same background footage with ink splashing effect, so we will use the same aerial shot as the background, and then let's add a solid white layer on top of it, where we will draw our mask for the ink. Decrease the opacity of white layer and draw an irregular mask over the road. Don't worry about the precision here, because we will be adding a noise to make it look like an ink. Let's turn the opacity to full and add a turbulent displace to this layer. This will add a distortion to give this layer a look of ink. Adjust the properties to achieve the desired distortion. Now it is time to animate its appearance so that it looks like it is spreading. So we will be adding a keyframe to its mask expansion, property, and complexity. So now we have our splashing effect ready. So we will select the base layer and change the track. Matte to Luma, so that only the white region will show the background layer. At this point, I am scaling the background a little bit to give the more zoomed look to the composition. It is time to take this layer to our main composition. We will place this composition between the vignette layer and background layer and increase its scale. It is looking blurry because the main footage has the Gaussian blur applied to it. So let's go and remove it. Let's go back to main composition and apply the Gaussian blur to the background layer because we want to keep the masked layer in focus and rest of the footage blurred. To give the elevated look to our ink spreading effect, we will be applying a drop shadow layer style to this layer and adjust its properties to get the desired effect. One thing I would like to specifically mention here is to adjust these two keyframes based on the beat of the background music, because in the actual trailer this splash grows suddenly with the upbeat. Now, we will be adding some noise to the background, so I am placing a concrete texture and change its blending to overlay and decrease the opacity. Now, this was part 1 of the complete series. So in the next video, we will be adding a map and its animation. So if you want to pursue this tutorial further, subscribe to this channel and leave a comment. So see you in the next video. Till then, stay tuned and stay creative.